That's like
12
concrete.
years of no-till. There's a little bit of difference. Sunlight, rainfall, seed. That's the only thing that's built this soil.
You got a lot of good relationships with your neighbors then?
Talk to them about you find an enterprise that you can make money at, and then you grow that enterprise. Find out if you really like it. The way I dug out of debt is, what could I produce at a lower price point than anyone else and make the most profit on? I can just almost close my eyes and see herds of bison coming over those hills, you know. But people say, oh, we can't have Big Blue. Really? Really? And allow that aggregation to build deeper in the soil profile. What that does is get more air down to that latent seed bank along with mycorrhizal fungi, etc., and that's stimulating this. Of all the insects found in this region, our ranch had over 40% of the total, and like over 50% of the species were from this ranch. The land hens, when Paul moved back from college, 2010, you know, I told him he's got to bring value, bring enterprises. So he bought 150 hens from a lady who was selling out. And that's what he started. That little brown trailer was his first egg mobile. You know, my wife and I got asked by my in-laws when we were we were married before we were out of college, if we'd want to move back, take over the ranch. And that's always my standing joke too, is my wife tells people she married a city kid to get off the ranch, and then I took her back, and she's been mad at me ever since. It was bought by my in-laws in 1956. Every building on the place was built, well, by them, except for the new shop, that shop and little cabin right behind us. I built this, but yeah. So they bought this original section in 56. My father-in-law tells the story how they did okay the first couple of years, then it turned dry, and they about lost the place in 61. And in 62, they had a bumper crop, paid it off. So they were...
Bumper crop of what?
Yeah, he primarily goes spring wheat, oats, barley, a little bit of flax. Paul just finished harvesting on Saturday.
Was this wheat?
So that was oats, peas, barley, and flax. And he grows those four in a combination together, and then that's what goes into the hog and poultry rations.
Okay.
And then he sells some for cover crop seed. This was, he seeded it back to perennials. I should say, I kind of grew the farm, now not all owned land, but owned and leased to about 6,000 acres, of which about 2,000 was crop. But Paul's main focus is on pastured proteins, of course. And so he says next year the last of the cropland will go back to perennials.
Really?
He's been seeding it all back over the last 7 years, 8 years. Yep.
So he's not gonna
have any cropland.
He's not gonna miss the annual cover crop grazing?
No, well, he may when it comes time to finishing.
Yeah.
So none of this over here is ours. And
so that spot you said you put back into perennials had hairy vetch in it, you just include that in on the mix? Or?
Well, because there's so much hairy vetch grown in the cover crops, and for years we were growing cereal rye, forage winter wheat, winter trit, and hairy vetch, and he had grazed that or combine it for seed, and that's just a little bit we throw in there. If it comes, great. If not,
hairy vetch does seem to do really well at our place.
It does fantastic for us. So my father-in-law tells the story in 1972. The previous owner of this land wanted $92 an acre for it. Father-in-law offered him $87, and they dickered. The owners now came and offered $92, and the father-in-law kicks himself. But the owner now is retired. They just sold this here for $17.5 an acre.
How many acres?
Yeah, that was just 40.
So you guys your guys' land's that high right now?
Yeah. The land I'll show you just west of me, there's some of that just brought over 20.
What's What drives that then?
The city's right here.
Yeah.
And you can't go south because of the Corps of Engineer land. So this east is the only way. West is the river. You can't go there.
Yeah.
So it's east is the big push. And so this is ours, so that to the left. So that would have been grazed a little bit last winter. There we want to have one of those flux towers set up over there, taking all carbon data and everything. And then you can kind of tell this is the neighbors right here with all the alkali. And you can tell at the fence here where ours starts again.
Yeah.
A little bit of difference there.
So
yeah.
you stockpile, you're saying, so that was grazed last winter, so you stockpile that for...
Yeah, this will be fall eventually. This hasn't been grazed since, I don't know, April, I'm guessing. But
it looks like you just have 2-wire high tensile going on.
Yeah, that's all on the perimeter of, because that's all, that is leased land there. Where we own, like on the left here, we have 3-wire, but yeah. If you, I'll stop on top of the hill here. If you look back, you can see where Paul's set up for bale grazing. It'll show up when we get to the top of the hill here.
Oh, yeah.
He's been hauling bales through there. So last year, and we can drive out there. Last year, he went the entire year without feeding the cows hay. The year before that, 11 days. So he's getting down there. So if you've watched the movie Common Ground, and there's a picture, a scene at the beginning where I'm standing talking about the neighbor's soybeans that all blew away in the wind, that's right here. I was standing on that hill up there, and the neighbors here, it's just wind erosion all the time. Now that was filmed a couple years ago, but they're in strictly a corn bean rotation, so you can imagine what this country would have looked like 500 years ago, you know,
yeah.
The rolling prairie. That's what it was.
Brought it back. What's the predominant grass you see growing?
Well, smooth brome is taking over everything because of CRP. In saying that, if we can get, I don't know, depending where Paul has the cattle, I'm going to show you what we've been able to do to enhance and bring back some native species.
So he's a stockpile grazing like this?
Yep.
You just got to push them to do it.
You got to get the right cattle. You got to get the epigenetics in your herd. Yep. So this is predominantly what you're seeing on the right. That's predominantly what we, will be grazing. And they'll live on it with calves hanging on them all winter.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
So this is ours up ahead also, and on those hills. We lease about 2,000 acres from a widower and her 3 children. And Paul seeded this back a year ago to perennials, the cropland here, and he decided to put it up for hay this year, which, I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but
seeded it into...
It's into diverse perennials. There'll be 20-some species, a little bit of alfalfa in there. And it'd primarily be little meadow brome, because meadow brome won't creep. And then it'll be big blue, Indian grass, switchgrass, green needle, needle and thread, a lot of native, quote-unquote, native species. There'll be a bit of sandfoin and clover in there. There'll be some chicory and some plantain. And
I love chicory. This is amazing, too.
Yeah, chicory helps us survive the drought.
With your warm season pastures, like that mix, how do you manage that? You try not to graze it? It seems like you're not grazing everything very much, but
no. So all of our paddocks will only be grazed depending on the size of the paddock. And I couldn't even tell you right now. I'd have to talk to Paul. But there's over 100 permanent paddocks on the ranch, but then they all get subdivided down.
Yeah.
So the 100 permanent paddocks all have water. Everything is well piped on our ranch. There is a couple of stock dams, but they don't get used much unless emergency. Other than that, we have wells on land that we own, And then we have shallow pipelines going through the whole thing, even on all of our leased land. Now this is not ours to the left anymore. To the right still.
So each 100 has even the capability of getting water in the winter too.
Each of the, well, no, it's all shallow pipelines.
Oh, all that
we
shallow.
winter on snow.
Yeah.
We winter on snow. If we don't have snow, we'll be chopping ice, running. We can run water with a bubbler or something to get us into usually November. But by November, we're freezing pretty hard. Then we got to go to other means.
So the genetics, you think that the epigenetics matter more than the true genetics of the animal?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think there's as much variation within a breed as there is between breeds.
Yeah.
And so, it's, you can see from the diversity in the paddocks the impact that it'd have on wildlife. We just had Audubon was out last month. One day they documented 105 bird species, which is pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is like a 10-acre slough over the hill there. You can't even see, but that's just loaded with ducks and geese and everything else. That's the largest body of water we have on the place. Yeah.
You guys lease hunting?
So what Paul just started doing last year, I never have. I've always just made it available. I had a thing where there's a group called Sporting Chance, which is for paraplegics and that. I've always let them hunt for years. And then I always let any veterans or law enforcement hunt on our property. But a year ago, Paul, being the capitalist he is, he got in with this group. It's kind of like a Airbnb for hunting where you use the app and book, and man, he really did all right with that. So now this on the left is ours again. My sister-in-law owns that. That was in CRP for 20 years, so it became nothing but smooth brome and noxious weeds. And I told her, we can't. We got to do something with that. So I pay her the same lease she could make if it was in CRP, and then I put a well on it. That's the water. That waters all this, and then we're grazing it. I was on the township board for 25 years. In our township, you need 40 acres if it's not zoned for development. So you just get 40 acres sold everywhere.
Yeah.
Just like that piece I showed you coming out of our drive. So the cities are actually, the city jurisdiction, we're in city jurisdiction here. City jurisdiction goes up to our other place, but the subdivisions start right over the hill here to the left.
Well, I guess that makes sense why the land's so expensive.
It's just nuts. There's a couple of bankers in town that just buy up everything they can.
Is Bismarck sprawling?
Oh, Bismarck for years has been one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S., under 100,000 people. And you got Bismarck, Mandan right across the river. You got Lincoln right on the south side of Bismarck. There's about 125,000 altogether or so. And when you consider, we only have 730,000 in the whole state, and 180,000 of that's in Fargo. So, so between Fargo and Bismarck, you have almost half the population, not quite, of the state.
How much do you attribute your marketing success to the fact that you are here?
Very little, because Paul doesn't have big enough clientele in Bismarck. Yeah, he sells some in town, but the majority of it is shipped.
Yeah.
By far. Now it does help because
like when you got started doing that, though, I'm sure you weren't shipping very much of it, were you?
No, but it started very small, so that was more local. Yes. Yeah. But like Speedy, which is regional carrier there in Wisconsin, and then UPS pick up every Monday evening. They pick up orders right at the ranch, so we don't have to haul boxes in anywhere. Yeah.
What's he mainly doing? He's doing like predetermined bundles, or
No,
they have like
individual cuts.
Individual cuts?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll show you the meat business when we're done. You're gonna laugh. We're low budget, Taylor.
Oh, I need to figure that out.
We're all about low budget, least cost. I tell people, when you were as broke as I was at one time, you just don't spend money. You're allergic to it. Well, that corn got dinged a bit. Not real bad, but it did.
So, like, what is that yield? That doesn't look very good.
Oh, for us, county average is 98.
Yeah.
So, you know, my proven yield for corn was 127. The top yielders, they'll hit 140, 150. I have combined. In 2003, I combined 200 bushel dryland, which is unheard of, but, you know, for Burleigh County. But, you know, we're in a 10 to 12 inch rainfall environment, and then another 4 to 5 inches from snow. That's canola.
So there's just no way to be profitable for anyone to buy land here and start corn and soybean.
No. And my whole contention is, why would you grow corn and soybeans? It's not
Well,
profitable,
yeah, right.
you know?
But you just, you know, when you think about how people want to get started.
Yeah. So right here at this corner post, this starts our land again. We own this here. Now, obviously, that was grazed at one time this year.
So how do you run them down this dirt road, the cattle?
Yeah, we just trail them everywhere. Those cows will follow us anywhere. You know, they're used to be moved every day. One of what I think is one of the best views on.
So what do you see happening? Because I mean, essentially what I was alluding to earlier, like you know, when people get started, they don't really have the conventional option isn't even an option now.
Yep.
So like, how do you see this playing out in the next?
Yeah. So you know, for 25 years we ran an internship program on the ranch.
Yeah.
And we would always have one afternoon was lesson day, where we'd try and teach them something that week. You know, we'd try, not whether they listened or not.
Not just put them to work.
But anyway, one of the first lessons I'd give, how young people, they want to buy land, own land. And I explained to them that's the absolute worst thing you can do. What you should do instead is, first of all, you don't know enough at your age to really be sure what you want to do in life. And you need to find that out. So try different things and then grow, you know, start. What I share my story and how the way I dug out of debt is, what could I produce at a lower price point than anyone else and make the most profit on? And it couldn't be corn and soybeans, you know, it had to be something else. And so that's when I started selling rye and vetch and those type of things. Now both sides is ours again.
So do you consider that middle line that's going, do you consider that a permanent 100, or is that just a crosswire?
Well, when I say, yeah, no, that would be a permanent. It'd be one
So
of the
this would be a permanent
patterns.
100, that would be a permanent 100 on the right side of that?
Well, not
Single
100
line?
acres, just
Yeah, okay.
100 permanent pastures.
Oh, got
Yeah.
you, 100 permanent pastures.
Yeah, and the
Jesus.
pastures vary in size from, you know, well, 10 acres, I'm sure there's a couple. But most of them are like 30s, 40s.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple that may be 80s. But then what he'll always do, so right up there where those two ties, there'd be a water tank there, tire tank, you know? And that's where we'll start grazing, then we'll move one direction and then move the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that, like this 30 acres might get divided into 5 days worth. It all depends on how much forage is there. All depends on how much. Look at the size of these rocks. So most of them are gone. These are the ones they couldn't haul off. This land on the left, my wife's uncle owned, and he plowed up and down these hills for years. And all the rocks, there was 100 times more rocks here. You can kind of see the old berm there where rocks were pushed over, because they were hauled over here with the stone boat and just pushed off. Mm-hmm. And then I gave them away when we built this. And those are the ones that were too big. But I bought this from him. It was farm. He had it in CRP. And then I bought it with the intention of grazing it. So I immediately put that well on the hill up there. And now that well services the There's a little over 2,500 acres of grazing land here, and we have water piped through the whole thing from that well.
How deep do you put it?
The well, we can hit water at about 240.
How deep do you put the pipes?
Oh, the pipes in the ground?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're only
Just
12 to 18 inches.
Yeah.
I tell people,
Trencher.
they're so shallow, even a government employee could dig them up. That's my standing joke. And the reason for that is during the winter we have snow. And to bury them too deep, I was too broke to pay for that. So we just buried them shallow, and that way something happens, you can work on them.
Well, and they do like last longer than you would think.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, that was put in, and I bought this land in 98. Suppose I put that in about 2000, 2001. So that pipe's been in since then. This is the only...
I mean, just burying them a little bit under the ground saves it from freezing too, more than you would think. Like,
yeah, well, we have drains at all the low spots, because we'll freeze down to 6 feet.
yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah, because I suppose you don't always have a good snow cover either.
No.
We've been so lucky the last couple of years where we've had good snow when it's gotten really cold. Like
No.
2 years ago, we don't even know if we had 2 feet of frost.
So this is one of my favorite views on the ranch. So we have everything from half mile south, going a mile north, and it goes all the way over to those far trees straight ahead of us there. So this whole bed is all ours, serviced by that well. And it's owned by, we own part, two of my sister-in-laws own a little bit, state of North Dakota owns 2 quarters back here. Yeah.
So how is it working with your sister-in-laws?
Good.
They're on board?
Well, yeah. You know, my wife and I got asked by my in-laws when we were finishing we were married before we were out of college, if we'd want to move back, take over the ranch. And that's always my standing joke too, is my wife tells people she married a city kid to get off the ranch, and then I took her back, and she's been mad at me ever since. That's why when she wanted to move to town here, when Paul got married, I didn't put up a fuss, because she let me live out my dream for 40 plus years.
So she's not overly impressed with your popularity.
No. And she will tell you, you know, she wouldn't even walk across the street to listen to me. So, you know, and there's a lot of truth to that. But in saying that, we've been married 44 years, so it can't be too bad.
Well, it seems like this must have been grazed not too long ago.
Yeah. There's we're gonna find some cattle around here somewhere. Where, I'm not quite sure. So Paul runs, if you count total head, there'll be somewhere between 700 and 850 beef animals. You know, but that's total head. The cow herd, oh no, we're not gonna get to them. The cow herd's up there. I see them around that lone tree up there. There's some. That's not ours up on the hill. That's the neighbors. That cropland in between separates us. But ours are up over there. Yeah. So, anyway, you asked about the sister-in-laws. So they asked if we'd move back, take over the farm. So we moved back, spent 8 years working for them. I started in livestock and started farming a little on my own. And then all of a sudden they called the 3 sisters together. See, a lot of this here was in CRP, and I made a deal with the one sister-in-law who converted to grazing, and so it's been grazed. I pay them the same amount they could get in CRP, but
I mean, you've directly seen, like, CRP is like one of the biggest wastes of space there is.
It is. And it's here in North Dakota, like Burleigh County, 25% of the cropland acres we maxed out went in CRP, which meant it was smooth brome grass, a little bit of alfalfa with it. Well, after 5 years, you had smooth brome grass, Canada thistle.
Yeah.
You know, it was just noxious weeds. So I told my sister-in-laws, let me convert it to grazing after that 10 years. This was in 20 years. That there was only in 10, but this was in 20 years. And, you know, now we're at least getting other species in there, and it's productive.
What was the transitioning like? Did you terminate it, or you just started grazing it?
Just started grazing.
And it turns out to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's still smooth brome.
Yeah.
So the thing with smooth brome is you have terrible nutrient quality for 10 months out of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just loses its protein, everything else. So this is where we found you have to have the epigenetics that can utilize that poor quality forage, which is exactly what we've been able to do. You know, now our cows can live on it. A lot of people's wouldn't. Yeah.
How long do you think that took?
The epigenetics?
Mm-hmm.
Not as long as you might think. I really think in 8 to 10 years you make tremendous strides.
I feel like I see it.
And even less than that, really.
The new calves that come off of the ones that have been there that we didn't buy in are just at least twice as good as their mom.
Yeah, and you really need to be ruthless, never keep an open animal, you know, anything like that. And that's kind of us. It's survival of the fittest. Now, obviously, I say that a bit jokingly. We're not going to let them die, but the animals have to be able to have a calf hanging them on them all winter. The calf's weaned, and 45 days later, they lay down, spit out another one. They got to rebreed,
and that honestly is probably easier than it's ever been with the prices the way they are now. An open animal goes for a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, for me, it's good because we just sell it as meat. But even people that don't have that direct marketing line, like you get $3,500, $4,000 for an open.
Oh, it's crazy. So here in North Dakota, I don't know how it is in Wisconsin, but we got to leave the section lines open. So every square mile you have to leave. By law, they say 128 feet, but nobody leaves that much. This is one of the wider ones.
What, do you just graze this thing?
And then we'll just graze it, you know. Now, hunting season has started here, so then we're not grazing it then, because this will be like a war zone every weekend with hunters, you know.
So what are they coming mainly for pheasant?
Pheasant, grouse, partridge, dove right now. You know, it's just crazy.
Good thing I didn't know you my hunting days. I'd have been knocking on your door.
Yeah. And good luck getting permission from Paul. Well, now he's capitalizing on it.
Well, now I don't have any time for it.
Yeah. I love to hunt, but I haven't hunted in years simply because no time. Now, neither side is ours. I would love to own one of these quarters because it'd tie our places together here. But this was one of my father-in-law's brothers, and in 1979, a guy from New Jersey knocked on his door, says, "I'd like to make you an offer on your land." He says, "Well, it's not really for sale." He says, "Well, let's see if we can agree on a price." And the guy says, "Well, here, this should entice you." And he opened a suitcase full of cash. He paid him half check, half cash, so under the table. And and that ticked my father-in-law and his other brother off because they owned the land around and they didn't get a chance at it, but they would have never paid. They were too cheap to pay what that guy paid. So a guy from New Jersey owns all this, and he just rents it out to a guy around here. But,
so back, I think I interrupted you when you were talking about it, but you wanted to train your interns on developing their own market.
Yeah, so I talked to them about you find an enterprise that you can make money at, and then you grow that enterprise. Find out if you really like it, but you save the cash, keep building it, and I tell them, somebody will take notice in the community, and they will tell you, "Hey, I got a little place here. Are you interested?" etc. And you'll keep growing, but don't buy into anywhere. And you keep growing that way until you have enough cash accumulated where you can really expand the enterprise. Now, this on the right is ours. And Paul just had a whole group of custom grazed cattle in here that we're grazing in. I hope this is open up here and I can show you. They're not grazing. So if you watch the documentary Kiss the Ground, the first one, I'm standing on a field and I say, "Where do you want your food coming from?" And that was right on this hill here, and this neighbor's was Chem Fallow at the time. And then there was ours. This spot right here is where that was filmed.
So they'll leave a field like this fallow for what,
Yep,
a year?
For a year, and just spray it. It's not as...
Spray it like twice a year? Or? So what is even there? Just nothing? Just
nothing. The only thing that was there in that documentary was Roundup resistant mare's tail, glyphosate resistant mare's tail.
I can't imagine the weeds that come from that.
Yeah, I mean, and you're just building resistance, you know. So
what's the theory that
you're going to save moisture? Well, that's just totally false, and you're killing biology. You know, it's not as prevalent as it used to be. My father-in-law, when I first came to the place in '83, he was half summer fallow with tillage, half crop. So he was only getting a crop every other year. Yeah.
The version of Gary Zimmer's model, but not quite.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like Gary, but yeah. If you can understand it.
Well, he actually grows a cover crop, but people can't believe that he goes, half of his land doesn't get a crop off of it.
Yeah. That used to be pretty prevalent. So, man, I'd love to own like that quarter there. That's another neighbor. And it was a father-in-law, son-in-law. And the father-in-law he was not a nice man. But the son-in-law really took an interest in what I was doing. And when the father-in-law passed away, he started, good, Paul's got this open. He started, what the world happened here?
Looks like he dug a rock out or something.
Oh, Paul must hit a rock with the Ranger and decided he had to dig it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, he started cross-fencing everything down. He's got about 3,000 acres here. But then he really was building a nice system. Then his wife had some health issues. His hired man quit, and he just opened the gates and let it go.
That's the crazy thing. Like, once you have all that stuff in there, it doesn't take really any more work. Like,
no.
Fine, open it up for a week and just go. You can't make it down there one time in the week to open the next one.
Yeah. Now I'm going to drive out here and show you something. So this was all cropland when we bought this. You got to excuse the gopher mounts and everything, but it was all cropland. Then what we did, I planted it to cover crops for at least 3 years, and we grazed them until the pocket gophers. But I've let this go back naturally without seed, and this year the big blue stem here has just exploded in here, and it's really exciting for me to see. Now you tell me where that came from, you know?
The big blue stem?
Yeah.
I was assuming the soil.
Yeah. But this land was plowed for 70 years.
Yeah.
And look at this.
You think it's just getting the...
We're finally getting the biology
back in there.
We're getting aggregation deep enough. This is really like sandy soil here. So it's taken some time to do that. But
so when you're saying big blue stem, like we're driving...
This is
all
big
that
blue.
big blue
Yeah,
stem.
this is big blue. That is a warm season native. Now, people say, oh, Central North Dakota, we don't have it. Okay. Really? Really? This, to me, is pretty... There's a lot of biomass here. For North
that's
Dakota.
what I was going to say, too. It's just... There's no bare ground.
No. Stuff like this excites me.
That's the
because it's, you know, if you can imagine hundreds of years ago, the bison coming across these hills, and you know how many tons of biomass, I could figure it out, but I could do the math. And then you think of the rooting depth of this. Big blue can go down 20 feet plus.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't hit bedrock, which you won't here.
So how would you manage this? Would you only graze it like once a year?
So that's how all of our paddocks, and I started to tell you that, the 100+ paddocks divided down, very seldom does any particular acre get grazed more than one day the entire year.
Yeah.
And it's usually about a 12 to 14 month recovery time. You know, now we'll change season of use, so sometimes it may only be, you know, a 10-month recovery or something. But since we started doing that, the diversity has just exploded. We've documented 174 different plant species on the ranch now. You know, this is, I think, pretty good.
So this stuff is just dormant in soil for
Hundreds of years, I think. I don't know how long, but a long time. It's just absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Some nice dirt.
Soil, Taylor.
Sorry.
Soil. It was dirt when I first bought it. Now it's soil.
Sorry.
Yep. So Paul will come in here, and what he'll do to graze this, the cow herd's going to come down here sometime, and this was actually grazed in May, though.
Really?
Yep. This was grazed in May, but we think Paul's trying this protocol because smooth brome is kind of taken over in the lodge here.
Hit it hard in the
He'll
spring.
hit it hard in the fall,
Oh.
then come back in the spring and hit it again. And those two grazings then set that brome. And if you would have been here 3 years ago, you would have seen 100 big blue plants on this quarter. And now look at it. It's just amazing, I think.
This is amazing. We should take a picture right here, Emily.
You know, I don't know a lot, but and allow that aggregation to build deeper in the soil profile. What that does is get more air down to that latent seed bank along with mycorrhizal fungi, etc., and that's stimulating this.
So when he grazes it in the fall and the spring, is he grazing it hard?
When he's setting it back from big blue, for fair, it'll be like that over there.
Yeah, so not that hard.
But knocking it down.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not removing as much as you are trampling.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you look, there's a lot of species in here. You know, it's just the big blue showed up this year. We had that rain there about just after the 4th of July, and it just, I told him, man, you combine this and make a lot of, that's, you know, big blue is worth $15 a pound at least.
Have you ever done that before?
No, I have not. What we've done instead is come into something like this and we'll hay it off and then use those bales for bale graze. And that works.
Would you hay it like right now?
Yeah, it'd be pretty close to being a good time right now. You know, that seed should be viable now. Getting close. And our cows would get fat on this stuff.
How do you like this for stockpile?
We've never had big like this two stock. We just don't, I don't want to seem like we don't care about the animals' nutritional needs. We do, but our animals need to thrive on what we have or they're gone.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to go buy supplements. We just don't do that. The only thing we do is feed some dry hay if needed. You know, but like I said, the last 2 years, that's been next to nothing on the cow herd.
What was it like when you got through those? I mean, you obviously went through, you had to have gone through some trials and tribulations with getting the cattle to that point then. 'Cause that's what everyone will say.
Yeah.
It's like they, you know, you see a couple skinny animals or you lose something.
No, we fully turned over 50% of the cow herd in 3 years.
Yeah.
We did. And that was more open cows than anything else. You know, we'd never let them get, you know, they're not gonna.
So what would be your buying technique?
No, we didn't buy.
So you just sell them and then you just keep calves, keep calves.
We keep all the heifers.
Yeah.
And then we're pretty ruthless on the heifers. They're only exposed 30 days. 30 days, and what gets bred gets bred. You know, and the rest go to grass finished.
Yeah. And
I love this.
Do you separate those groups? Like when you finish them?
Yeah, they're separated. Yep. Because the finishers, we try, and for one thing, we want them close to home, so if we got to ship them. The other thing is, you're not going to put finishing cattle on this right before forage, mature forage, you know? Yeah, so.
Just hear the...
Oh, it's,
Hear the life out here. It's crazy.
So, Dr. Lundgren, in his Thousand Farm Initiative, sent us the report. So he has a cluster of farms here in Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and I think it goes into Minnesota, maybe southern Canada. And now don't quote me on this exact, but he had to email me after, you know, during the winter, they do their insect counts. You know, they just take them and then identify and counts. And he said, of all the insects found in this region, our ranch had over 40% of the total, and like over 50% of the species were from this ranch.
So what sort of species were here that aren't in other places?
I never asked him.
Yeah.
That'd be a good question. You know, I don't know my insect species well enough, but
I don't really either.
you know.
It'd be interesting to know like which one, like why are they?
Well, I was just on a Zoom meeting the other day with this outfit out of Europe that is doing bird counts with recorders. And then from that recorder, they're able to identify the bird species. But from that, those birds then, they can figure out the clusters, which tell them even, okay, some just eat flying insects, some eat, you know, insects that are in the soil. So they can tell you somewhat your insect diversity just from the bird species diversity. I thought it was pretty interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I hadn't thought of that.
The birds
That makes
wouldn't be
sense.
here if the insects
Yeah.
weren't.
So you can see why, though, they could identify 105 species in one day on this ranch, you know? Yeah.
This is where I would go pheasant hunting.
There's a lot of grouse up in here, too. A lot of grouse.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
we
which
don't really have those
North
anymore.
Dakota Game and Fish, they said, you know, Gabe, our grouse is really in a down cycle. But for some reason, it's not on your ranch. Or when Audubon first came a few years back, probably 4 years ago now, the guy stopped by our place and he was all excited. He says, Gabe, this is impossible. You have nesting piper and plover on your property. They only nest on sandbars in the river. I said, don't tell those birds that, you know. But the thing is, the habitat.
Yeah.
And so that's why. So they were nesting
Or
around
they
that big
thinking-
slough over there.
So the grouse they think are on a downswing because of predator impact?
Just a natural cycle.
Yeah.
But because of the habitat and feed and winter cover,
Yeah.
you know, this is, yeah. I can just almost close my eyes and see herds of bison coming over those hills, you know.
They'd be coming here.
What it'd be like. But think of it, Taylor. So at one time, this is really what this was like, you know, here.
That was
Now,
probably-
yeah, except even taller. And I mean, the conditions have to be right. For these warm seasons, you have to have some moisture in July for them to explode here. But people say, oh, we can't have big blue. Really? Really?
Because there's nothing different about this.
No.
I mean, it is on a ridge, but
Well, it's the same soil. Well,
Yeah.
look down there. You know? And I first noticed it over these hills on that side. And I kind of wonder if it isn't because my father-in-law's brother, my wife's Uncle Dan, plowed up and down these hills for years. So that topsoil moved down. So the latent seed bank would have been exposed up there a little quicker. And we first noticed the big blue on that side, and now it's exploding down here. I don't know, that's just a guess of mine. But, yeah.
well, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to see it.
Or when are you going to start getting involved with like the government?
Yep.
Wouldn't the CRP program be like the easiest, like lowest hanging fruit to fix as far as like there's so much land just completely unused? I mean, you'd have to find the managers to do it, but
So, it's all tied together.
like
First
why do
of
they
all-
lock it up?
Well, and the thing is, they don't. When you look at CRP, you know,
It's like you technically
I
can
was
graze
in-
it once every like 4 years or something.
yeah, which is good. It needs to be.
Yeah.
Should be more often than that. But the fallacy for like CRP is, so once CRP program got going, it was abused. I know people in this county who would go take native rangeland, plow it up, farm it for 3 years, then put it in CRP. Because they could make money. The government was essentially paying that. And then what happened, it was in CRP for 10 years, 20 years, they got that payment. Commodity prices go sky high, they just take it out, farm it again. That should not be allowed. You know, it should not be allowed. We've totally destroyed biodiversity and ecosystems by allowing things like that to happen. You know, and I'm a big proponent of landowner rights, but you shouldn't be sucking off the taxpayers, you know what, you know, and just taking money from the taxpayers. They shouldn't be subsidizing.
I know, this is like
you being allowed to do that.
This is the solution that I hate, is like the way that we get out of the issue that we've caused with subsidies is we subsidize our style of farming more. But it's like, then what are we?
Well, you look right now.
We're just...
And I get asked all the time, Gabe, can you come to Washington and testify and all that? No. I testified twice, and it's like beating your head against a wall.
Yeah.
You know, all it is one side parading who they want, another side, and that's why I'm a big proponent. Common ground for common good. We all want clean air, clean water, nutrient-dense food. Why can't we come together and agree on those things and not worry about the rest? You see all the big blue in there?
Yeah, that's pretty.
You get grazed all that.
So if we're operating around the theory that, I mean, a lot of these things are most likely tied to someone making money somewhere. What is the benefit of CRP? It props the grain prices up or keeps them propped up or something? The
whole idea of CRP is take your highly erodible land. Shouldn't be in farmland, take it out of production. Well, my theory is if you're going to do that, it needs to go back into grazing land. Okay?
Yeah. But then they look at that as a negative to erosion.
They look at it as a negative, but meanwhile, we got all this BLM, Forest Service, grasslands, who farmers are renting for next to nothing. Oh, here Paul's got a group of cattle. I wonder if these are his heifers, his yearling heifers. I'm wondering. They look like his. So. Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm sure that's his yearling heifers that is breeding.
So you got a lot of black animals in there.
It's mostly all blacks. Paul's hired man had some Solaire, that's why you see the red. The British whites come about. I had, for years, there's a young guy in South Dakota. I was buying his entire calf crop, minus a few heifers he'd keep. And so I had a whole herd of British whites. And I never keep them separate. We just put them together. Oh, there's the bulls back there.
Well, they think they're getting moved.
They think they're getting moved. They're just spoiled rotten.
Well, you guys look like you have some good
grazing.
You guys are looking good.
So those bulls back there would be raised bulls, you know. Everything's closed and pretty much in ours. The beef, the sheep, the hogs, the only thing he purchases is pullets laying in.
So what's the theory on, breeding back your bulls from your herd to your herd?
Well, you'll sure make progress in a hurry. You will.
But people get so weird about it. They say you gotta get rid of.
Oh, really?
Well, I think so.
Why won't they breed?
No,
I know they say that. I agree with you. Were you done? I'm sorry. I should have.
Well, I haven't stressed about it. I mean, my bull is in with their.
We don't worry about that at all. Does the sire ever breed his daughter? Sure, it happens. Do we get mongoloid calves? No, never seen them. You know what? I think that's just an old wives' tale. I just don't see any issues.
So what are you selecting in your bulls?
So Paul's whole thing is they go out during calving season. If it's an older cow, they'd like it like 8 years old or older. An older cow who's got a good udder, sound feet and legs, good disposition, easy fleshing, has never come up open by age 8 because it wouldn't be in the herd. He'll leave it intact. Otherwise, he's going to band it at birth. Because our animals never get worked, Look at all the lead plant in this pasture. That's lead plant, that taller. That's a native legume. That's a lot of lead plant for one place. Yep. I'll tell you the story about this place here. So back in 1989, a couple from Northwest here had some coal money. They moved, bought this quarter of land, built just a big house, beautiful shop, everything. 4 years later, they get a divorce, and one of my high school classmates, who was a vet, bought it. Paid $289,000 for that place, the quarter of land and all the buildings. Here, about 4 years ago, he calls Paul. I'm going to move back, build a house, my dad's place. This is for sale. Are you interested? Paul says, well, what do you want for it? 2.3 million. I don't know what he ended up getting, but that was a pretty good investment from 89 to,
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of those stories.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Now look at this pasture here. The guy who leases this just stocks it. There's no production ever,
Are they on there right now?
No, I don't think so. I think he's taken them off already.
Not much there.
No, and that's a
Definitely no blue stem.
320 acre piece. Then you got this guy. An elderly gentleman had this quarter, and it was just a beautiful little farmstead. This couple bought it, put this feedlot in. That's government money there. The government paid Equip contract to build a feedlot there.
Equip pays for feedlots?
Yep. Oh, and it's just ridiculous.
Well, they look empty. What's the deal with that?
Well, they'll be full come winter. Then you got this guy, bought this 40 acres. He'll winter 1,000 head on this 40 acres. And then he owns a bunch of pasture 100 miles northeast of here. But, oh, what a mess. One spring, he had just a trailer with piles of dead calves on that trailer. Finally, one day I stopped. I couldn't take it anymore. I said, you got to put that behind the bales or something. Nope, I got it by the road so everybody sees how hard we work. I said, yeah, they can see that, or they can think of how stupid you are calving in the middle of winter in North Dakota.
That's what he said that?
He said he put him by the road so people would see how hard he works. And that was my response to him. Or they can see how stupid you are for calving in the middle of winter in North Dakota.
You got a lot of good relationships with your neighbors then?
That was when Common Ground, my wife first saw that. She said, are we going to get sued? And I said, I'm really not worried about it.
They aren't watching it.
No, and I really don't. What are they going to say? It's the truth. So that's the tour of the ranch. We can go look at chickens if you want to.
Sure.
They're just right south of the. First we'll stop and stick a spade into the neighbors, and then we'll go to mine. Just to show you a little difference. Maybe there won't be a difference. I don't know.
But let them work their way out of it.
You just move them.
Yeah.
And pink eye is more of a problem with you fed too high a protein about 30 to 60 days prior. Usually what's causing pink eye and hoof rot is there was excess protein, threw off the pH in the animal, and they became susceptible to that, organism.
Yeah.
That's usually what causes pink eye or hoof rot.
So not tall grass?
No.
That's what everyone says about pink eye.
Yeah.
And the tall grass poking their eyes.
Such a fallacy. Yeah. So our goal here is, some of this leased land, as soon as the widow lady passes, her 3 children will probably sell it, but it's not like Paul has to have it to keep going, we won't be able to afford that, it's just out of the price range economically. Every year we get 1 or 2 landowners, hey, will you farm my land? Will you farm my land like you do? And you can only handle so much, and so we usually don't take on anything extra. I should say Paul doesn't. I don't do anything anymore.
He's riding the coattails now.
Yeah, I just enjoy all the food he produces.
Well, there's always like a tipping point, like when you're scaling up too.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I guess the people that you guys work with, how would you like classify them? Are they mainly like conventional people that are just taking beatings and they're looking, or is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's lots of money coming in that where people just want to be a part of this somehow, but like, I mean, like the actual farmers.
Yeah, no, we see two. I know your question, and two. Number one, they're starting losing money. They see the writing on the wall. They can't continue going down that path. They need to become profitable. There's those, and then there's others that this just isn't right. You know, I don't like going spraying chemicals every day. I don't like writing the checks all the time. It's just not, you know, I'm not eating the food I'm producing, you know? So there's those two fractions I'd say are by far the largest, you know? And, you know, then it becomes, we really look at us as more of an education company than anything else. Now, the only reason I'm stopping up here on the hill is because there's an approach here. But we'll just walk in here just a little off to the side. I don't want to do it right where all this traffic is. Till at least 12 years now. The guy who owns it, he quit farming 4 years ago and rents it out now. But Taylor, I'm gonna have you dig a hole so you can see for yourself if there is a difference. Whoops, sorry. You want me to hold?
No, it's
okay.
fine. Ooh.
Okay, pull that up. We'll see what we got. Okay.
It's
That's
like
12
concrete.
years of no-till. Now we're going to set this on the pickup. Then we'll go stick a spade in over on mine. We'll set that on the back so we can get some pictures comparing.
All right. There's cracks all over in there.
Yeah. So this person was never high use of synthetics. But for 35 years, you can just set it right on the back here. It won't go anywhere. I don't know that it matters where we stop here, but
So does he drill into this then, or
yeah,
what will
this
come?
will just be, there will be not no tillage. So this land has been no-tilled since 1994. 1993 was the last year this was tilled. It doesn't matter where you dig, but a little difference, huh?
A little bit.
Now, let's see if where can we get a piece?
We definitely don't get one big clump like that either. All the worms.
But you see the difference in aggregation. If you go and we're dry. I mean, obviously really dry, but there's a little bit of difference. Hey, maybe that one's, you want to show that one? Yeah.
I mean, that looks like a rock shelf.
Yeah. But then the other thing, okay. Now break this up in your hand once. And notice how there's still a little moisture in there.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the aggregation. See, every one of those soil aggregates takes about 4 weeks and they break down, but that's what you need. Now, Dr. Norman, when he did all his soil studies here, he did 3 years. They dug over 300 cores, 4 feet deep. He said there's aggregation in these fields deeper than the 4 feet, which he said he had never seen before in cropland fields. Yep.
Well, it doesn't even seem possible.
Yeah, I've been hauling it in by the truckload at night. The beautiful thing is, the thing I'm most proud of, sunlight, rainfall, seed. That's the only thing that's built this soil. I never added any biologics, no synthetic amendments, no mycorrhizal fungi in a jug, and I'm not speaking out against any of those, but I didn't have the money, so I didn't do that. Now, Taylor, Okay, now break that apart. First of all, you can't hardly.
No.
Second of all, it's just powder. And that's 12 years no-till. But what's the difference? See, and this is my lesson to people who think, oh, I'm no-till, I'm regenerative. That's not regenerative. You're adding too much synthetics. You're not, it's never going to be positive for carbon.
No animals.
Yeah, and there's animals that graze this during cover crops. That'll certainly take it to another level. But the big thing is you're carbon negative, because soils, you know, soil is 11 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. So we get all these crop farmers putting so much nitrogen on, they're not capturing enough solar energy to make up for the carbon that's being lost.
All those little wormholes.
And no matter where, look at that.
And roots everywhere.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So the other thing, this soil has not seen a pound of synthetic fertility or amendments of any kind in over 30 years.
Does this stay? Will this stay like this?
Yeah, if we put that in water, you can literally leave it for a week. And you know, there'll be a few little bits that flake off, but it'll still be held together a week later.
I'd like to frame it and bring it back to the office, but
So when
we can't take that much out of the ground.
When I was just over, you know, the King Charles invited me to spend 2 days with him on vacation, and I went over, spent it on his estate with him, and we took some of my soil, and we'd been at his estate earlier in the year, and we took some of his soil, and we took the clay out of it and made him a clay piece out of both clays.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Gave that to him.
How was that experience?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, yeah.
How do you explain that? That you're just hanging out with kings and princes and...
So, we're starting to get quite an audience in the UK and doing quite a bit of work there. And his team had reached out to me and asked if he couldn't meet me the next time I was over. So that was back last August. We set it up and we met him at Buckingham Palace for a couple hours. And by the time we were done, he told me, he says, Gabe, when I go on vacation, I want you to come and spend some time with me on my Sandringham One estate. It's 2,700 acres. And so sure enough, in March, I got a letter saying, July, here's the dates. We would like you here these 2 dates. And here's what you got to do. And so I took Solar with me from Regenerative. And they said, be here at this time. We pull up to the gate, armed guards. And yep, they never even checked us, just drive in. And they told us, his help told us that in the 72 years him and his mother have been in rain, less than 50 people have been invited to stay there overnight. And we got to stay, we ate with them, and then the next morning we had breakfast with them. I'll show you a few pictures. I got to walk around his estate, and there was nobody, no armed guards. You know, the armed guards were outside, but nobody. It was just us and the king. And visiting, and we had drinks with them. He gave me a bottle of scotch to bring home because I liked it. And then the next day he drove us around his estate. And if that wasn't something, because there's these chain high fences where his property is at, and then there was one prison, William and his family were there, and nobody goes in there. But then the rest of Sandringham, there's a big visitor center and restaurant, and there's activities and farmers markets, and so there's a lot of people. Well, here we pull up, and the king chauffeured me around. You know, I wanted to take a selfie so bad, and it was just him driving me, and then one secret, service sitting behind him.
So what's
That's it.
What's his how did he find you, or?
So the king wrote a book in 2010 named Harmony, and it was about how we're disconnected from nature and all that. So I've got a picture. He was actually reading my book, and he was quoting from it. And he just got, found out and reached out. And Now we actually have a contract. We're going to be working with all of their, they have about 147,000. Really focused on doing is moving all their properties down the regenerative path. The king has always been high on organic, and I think that's one of the reasons he wanted me to explain the difference between organic and regenerative. So we looked at soils and discussed that. He's very intelligent and very much into it. So they have thousands of tenant farmers, and that's how the royal family makes their money. Is, you know, centuries ago, England set aside so much property that money would go for the throne in the family. And so then it's leased out to tenant farmers on share basis, etc. And that's how they get their income each year, is from that.
So do they have any sort of influence on like policy over there? You can see them changing?
Yes and no. Yeah.
Like they have like influence, but not actual
right
pen and paper.
Exactly, right. And so we have met with the head of DEFRA, which is, you know, that's their department of, I'll have to look up what the acronym is, but they're in charge of government policy for ag and all that. We spent several hours in a meeting with them, and we have had, when I say we, I mean our team has had several meetings with very influential people in government in the UK.
Do you think they're further ahead than us?
Not so much from a soil health standpoint. They are from a quote-unquote clean food policy.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the additives and stuff in their food that we have here, you know.
Did they explain to you why that is?
Well, they just don't allow it.
Yeah.
So that was a cover crop. Paul's been grazing with finishing cattle, which are somewhere around here. I don't know where they're.
I haven't really been following it too much. I don't like following politics that much, but
you and I both.
have we
Bores me to tears.
Have we made any progress with RFK taking some of these, or is it just pretty much smoke and?
Well, it has, for the sake of look what he's done with dyes, you know, and things like that. And he's really harping on ultra processed foods. I think all of that is a step in the right direction. In saying that, look at the big blue we got coming here.
Yeah.
Coming in here. This was cropland, and when I built that little cabin I'm going to show you, I wanted to look at animals out on here, so put it back. So there's about 2,000 laying hens here approximately. You see the dogs laying over by the feeder. A couple of guard dogs. This fence will be on, so I won't go touching it.
I'm sure it's not that hot, unless you have some secrets you want to share.
Nah, it's not that hot. What's the matter? What's the matter, girl?
Got new people.
Yeah. So the land hens, when Paul moved back from college, 2010, somewhere around there, you know, I told him he's got to bring value, bring enterprises. So he bought 150 hens from a lady who was selling out. And that's what he started. That little brown trailer was his first egg mobile. And so there's nest boxes in the back, roosts in the front. He had a water up front. Now he uses these waters. But he started selling eggs in the Kmart parking lot. And it's grown to now...
That fence is hot.
Yeah, don't touch it. We can go in there if you want me to shut it off, but it's up to you. But yeah, the eggs are just super easy to sell.
How long do you guys does he recycle them, like every 2 years?
We don't go all in, all out. What we'll do is every few years we'll just have a day in the fall, because we got to haul them up to that hoop house up there. So we'll just look at their feed, anything gnarly and old, then we'll process them. But I know there's 5-year-old hens in here, and it is what it is. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, it's a hen. Yep. We normally don't use netting. They're free range and they're out west of the place, but because there's so many trees here and you got the highway there, he's running netting this year. Otherwise, They'd be up in the farmyard, and you know, we don't want that.
Dogs do a good job.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. I've watched them dogs run down a coyote.
Really?
Yeah, when we had out west with no netting, I just happened to come out there, and there was one. He just rolled it and then just shredded it. Yeah.
That's a good dog.
Yeah, they're just amazing. Dogs are the same thing. All inbred. It's all our own breeding. Because he has these two here, and then there's a couple up with the sheep. And now they got one as a pet, I guess.
Hips and...
My wife found out yesterday she needs a knee replaced, so she's not too happy. It's amazing. I went under the knife at 8 in the morning, and at 10 to 3 in the afternoon, I was sitting in my recliner at home.
Yeah, and you're up walking around like...
Amazing. So we do have a big water up front. We're not using those now. Paul went to these things. Just easier than filling it. So you used to get these real cheap. Tear the floor out, put expanded metal, some roost, away you go. They have their favorite ones they want to lay in though.
Like how cheap?
Oh, I don't think he paid over $800 for these big goosenecks.
Now you can't find any shitty trailer for under $2,000.
Not anymore. Everybody's making these things. Yeah, or they'll pick a trailer they like, and they'll really lay in one of them.
And you guys just have one of those little, oh yeah, up there.
So we used
one of those,
those
solar doors.
Yeah, but we don't use them anymore.
Oh really?
There's no reason with the netting.
With the netting, yeah.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of those. It's a photosensitive eye that sits here. So at night it'll close and in the morning it'll open. And they work good.
They're not cheap either.
No.
But they save a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, this was the very first trailer. I wonder if the very first one. And we just build these things so you can hook it up to a quad. You just drop it over a ball on the quad. Yeah, see, I did that for him. Put Paul's poultry up there back in the day. But you look at some of these, nothing against them, these fancy ones, your overhead, you never get it paid for.
Puts too much pressure on you. Yeah, like, because I looked at them too, because especially like the ones that move themselves and...
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool, but...
Yeah. And this is pretty simple. You know, with these big goosenecks, we just have 3-point on a tractor. You just back up, and so once a week he'll move them. You know.
But if I wouldn't have listened to you as much as I did, and then also just like had some of the general like business acumen, where I was like, oh, this doesn't seem to make sense to me to spend this money. I'm not gonna make it back forever. I mean, I would have done it too, because people get so
enamored.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really doesn't matter.
If you don't feel it in your heart, it's not very hard.
Oh man. Paul laughs, tells the story how we were working on a fence over on property, cattle fence, and at that time we didn't have the remotes. So, you know, it's a mile back to the fence where I'm like, no, I can get that insulator on there. So I'm holding on to a steel post, putting the insulator on. He heard it go through me. My leg shot out because then it went through me right to that steel post I was holding. Oh, man.
Oh, I got a good one.
Oh.
My first year I had pigs. I had a group of pigs I got first, like smaller piglets. And then I had gotten trained on the netting, and we moved them into the garden, and then I was getting another group coming in. Well, it was the first time working with electric fence, so I hadn't checked it in like 3-4 days. The pigs that were in there were already used to it. This new group's coming in. I was like, I better test this fence quick.
Yeah.
Dead. The energizer went out. So the new pigs are arriving as I'm realizing the netting's dead. So we're like, oh, whatever, just put them in there. They're fine. These guys haven't broken out. First thing, everyone goes running through all the fences. I go buy a new energizer from the store and panicking, like hooking it up, and it just hit myself directly on the energizer. Like,
We usually don't use ones like this. We've got all those, you know, they're 40 joule stay fix and the big ones. Yeah.
But our sales guy, so everyone that works in the office has to do chores, and so in the spring I sent out our sales guy and our intern to plant trees with a tree spade along like the perimeter, just planting pine trees.
Yeah.
And I was like, do not touch the fence with that tree spade in the ground.
Yeah.
And he moved his butt back and hit it, and he absolutely got whacked. He had a mark on his ass for, Weston, make sure to ask him about it.
It'll get your attention.
It's a good thing to learn, though. You don't get shocked as much. Although, hey, even Gabe Brown just got shocked.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you want your cattle fence to be at?
Oh, I would prefer it to be 7 or above.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it always is, especially when it's this dry. But
how's the tree planting gone?
So yeah, there's
about my attitude.
There's a lesson in futility, and talk about should have known better. So I had the idea back in like 2014, 15. Okay, that was before I started UA. I'm gonna start a kind of you pick apple orchard.
Yeah.
So I went to St. Lawrence Nursery, upstate New York, because I wanted all these old heirloom varieties. And I bought 1,800 heirloom apple trees. And they're not cheap when you get those heirloom ones. So, you know, I did that over a 2-year period.
Were they all seedlings?
No, they were all 3, 4, 5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's what's planted coming up the road there in those tubes. This was our garden that got hit by frost the other night, but that's been no-till for over 30 years. Anyway, little did I know I'd start UA and be on the road 285 days a year, so nobody's there to water them. And little did I know 2020, 21, 22 were the 3 driest years in recorded history here in Bismarck. So there went most all my apple trees. But yeah, I should have learned about context, you know. We're kind of out of context here, so yeah. So this used to be all cropland, and then when my wife and I bought the place from her parents, I decided I want some more pasture, cool season, spring of the year. So NRCS seeded to smooth brome, intermediate pubescent wheatgrass. Well, we did, but it was so non-productive, you know. So then I started interseeding different legumes in each paddock to figure what works, you know. That was the very early years, you know, 90s, as I was learning about diversity and all this. But normally in the winter we have down here the yearlings and grass finishers, and so we've been bale grazing in different paddocks, and you can kind of see. So last year he didn't even get to the bales.
I was gonna say, those ones look like a year old.
Now he's putting more out there, and it's like, oh, Paul, you're getting, if there's a fire, and we get a lot of fires from either the interstates right there, you know, or
I suppose.
Yeah, you got to worry about that. But it's pretty amazing now, the production we're getting and everything out of there. So the cow herd, now everything winters in one group down here.
And there's netting on all those?
No, we use sisal twine. There's netting on a few, but we only use sisal twine. It takes longer to bale, but then we never have to worry about it. We just haul them and place them. So normally what happens...
They eat around, you're saying they eat around it?
The sisal, it'll just rot.
Oh, it just rots.
Yeah, it'll just rot. And even if they eat it, it's just going to pass through them. It's not going to be like netting, like net wrap.
It is wild, those guys that feed them netting.
Oh, man, no. You'll block them things up. So my wife and I planted all the trees around there, all these belts we planted. The only thing that was here when we got here was the old belt around the farmyard and those 5 single rows going down to the highway between those fields. Other than that, we planted everything. Now there is a bunch of finishing hogs here somewhere over here.
And you use the trees, you don't worry about shade and cover as much as you use them for wind breaks?
It doesn't get hot enough. So there's a bunch of hogs in here, but they must be in the old belt there. So normally what Paul does is the finishing hogs will go wherever they bale grazed the previous winter. But he didn't feed enough hay bale grazing so he wanted to run the hogs in here. One was just tired. He just got this van with new wrap put on it, so.
That looks nice.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of it.
Must be having good luck in the meat business.
Well, he wore out one already. This is the second one.
Did he sell calves this year?
No. Yeah, everything of ours.
You'll sell in the fall
to the meat. So
it's hard to turn on these prices.
Yeah, I really like how they put the roots on there, and yeah, I love the sign.
So what's he use this for then? As much if you guys are doing mainly shipping, still go to farmers market?
Yeah. So they go to 2 farmers market every weekend during the summer. This little van will go in here to Bismarck. And then this one, Paul and Jazz go to Fargo, because that Fargo will get 5,000 to 8,000 people through there on the Saturday.
Huh. This is not what I expected.
Nope.
I thought we were walking into a freezer room.
And you thought it'd be something expensive and fancy.
Well, not fancy, but...
So I'll tell you the story about this little building. So when Paul went down this path, you can open them, it's fine. When he went down, you gotta try that. When he went down this path and was building direct marketing, okay, we need somewhere to put the egg cleaner and process, and somewhere for some freezers. This was built in 1957 by my in-laws. They had 1,000 laying hens in here. And they were in the laying hen business for about 5 years. And then it just becomes storage junk.
Yeah.
Well, then I said, okay, Paul, we're gonna gut that building, we'll rewire it, spray foam insulated. I found a guy who, first time he spray foamed anything. And we made it with freezer, put the freezers in here. So what happens now is you'd have to ask Paul, he's got over 250 SKUs. And that, there's a different SKU for each product. Let's see if I can find where he's got his.
Everything is packaged.
So that's a New York strip. Look at the marbling in that New York strip.
That's crazy.
So everything is 100% just grass finished. There's no grain in any of it. I need to find a ribeye. I don't know where he's got those. But so yeah, over 250 SKUs. Beef, lamb, pork. Here's the chicken in here. And so on Mondays, my wife comes out every Monday and they box orders. Orders have to be in by Sunday evening. And they box them all. I'll show you I'll grab a box. And people can order from the lower 48. Now, would we love to sell local? Of course. This is when you know you're really into it, when you put the principles on your boxes. And he's got a couple different sizes, and everything gets packaged. Ice packs shipped out next day.
Ice packs? Like what kind of ice packs?
Yeah, I'll show you. We don't, there's no place in Bismarck that has dry ice. So
I know dry ice is the biggest problem I have.
We're just using gel packs.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Just plain gel packs. But he has, there's liners there's insulated liners that go into the boxes. Yep.
Those gel packs plastic?
No, they're like quarter. And that's all figured in.
And people could reuse them.
They could.
Yeah.
Yep. So everything gets boxed up, and then I'll show you the freezers. It's pretty simple. Here's the egg cleaner, still the first one we ever bought.
So So does he have alarms on these freezers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, but this is nothing. I'll show you the ones that are where it gets expensive.
I lost a freezer this summer. I lost one last summer.
We'll just close that door. So everything comes to us, marked what it is, gets inventoried. So there's this 20-footer and the 40-footer next to it. He can hold about 40 beef, 40 lamb, 40 hogs, and 3,000 chickens. And so that's the inventory that he works through. And everything is inventoried on the computer. Yeah. One of the benefits Paul has, that's where the city of Bismarck, you know, there's a refrigeration company in there. He's got on speed dial. And the other thing is, my dad worked for the Rural Electric Co-op for 37 years. If there's a problem, they'll come here,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Where do you get these from?
Yeah, just bought used over the internet.
So they come in as freezer units, or
Yep,
you? Yeah.
Yep. This one is really handy. That one a little harder to get into, but that can hold a lot.
So what'd you
of
have to
stuff.
run for electric for all this?
Yeah, so the power comes in right there into the farmyard, and then we just ran a line up here from there.
So it's
There's
nothing too
220
crazy.
wired into this. It's not three-phase,
Yeah.
so, yep. Yeah. So,
You store all your pig feed in there?
yep. So that's all leftovers from the grain, you know, the old grain drays. And seed. I sold a mountain of seed when I was crawling out from debt. I really believe things like that are how.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you don't want to be the one direct marketing, but maybe you can supply a direct marketer and garner an extra, you know, 10% or whatever it may be over commodity prices, or 20%. The key to Paul is, so 6,000 acre ranch here. He'll be 38 in October, and he's never borrowed money. And he's never taken a government dollar. He refuses everything. And the key is, you better know your cost of production down to the penny, and you operate on cash.
Yeah.
And that will allow you some, I didn't ask you if you needed anything out of the vehicles, but we'll go in here and have a conversation.